these two header files. So why can't I straight away write this void main and my program? So what happens if I do not include these two header files, stdio.h and conio.h? Anyone? Anybody from the audience? What is the reason to include these two?
Like importing libraries.
Importing libraries. Okay. So why we are importing these libraries?
Like
that is correct answer.
For input and output, maybe to print it, like for predefined functions.
For predefined functions. Yeah. So that's a perfect answer from Monica. So thank you. So these header files stdio.h, conio.h, they contains some definition of the predefined functions. For example, the printf, scanf, whatever the commands that you are writing, so these are defined in these header files. So the moment if you remove these header files, the console will say unknown statement printf, unknown statement scanf. So these errors you will get in the console, right? So whenever you are writing a program, even in the C language or even in the Java language, so in Java language also we use it to write like this: import java.io.start. I don't know whether you remember or not. Import math.start, something like this, right? So after that only we write public static void main, public static void main. So it is a main program in Java. So it's a statement to start your main program in Java. But the concept is same. So here in C language you load the libraries by using hash include statement, and in Java language you use the statement import to load the libraries, right? So in the same way in SAP UI5 also, in these particular JavaScript files, so whether it can be controller, whether it is component.js, so any JavaScript file will start with this particular library loading or the definition of these particular, defining of these particular libraries at the top. So whatever the libraries that you use in this particular file, only those libraries you can define in this particular sap.ui.define section. Okay. So similarly in the controller also, sap.ui.define section, and whatever the library that you use, so only those libraries you can define in this particular section. Okay. So because let's say the end user opened only view1, then only view1 related dependency libraries gets loaded, not all the libraries, right? So why to load all the libraries at once, which will cause the performance problem, correct? So basing on the web page that you are opening, the corresponding libraries which are required, only those gets loaded, not entire libraries, right? So that is the concept of this sap.ui.define section, which loads the libraries. Okay. Now let us see what are the libraries that are present in this particular component.js. The first one is SAP UI core UI component. Now what is this? We'll understand. So after that sap.ui.device, and there is one more. There are few things, guys, which I will say ignore. So you can just ignore at this moment, but at lateral stage you will understand those things. Okay, right. Now the first thing we need to understand is this particular library, SAP UI core component library. So this particular library is a super library or super class or parent library, I can say. It's a parent library for component of the application. So parent library for component. In yesterday's class, yesterday means the previous class, when we are going to the structure of SAP UI5 application, I have given the description of component.js. So what component.js will do? So I told component.js will do two things. One is, can anybody tell me what component.js will do? I will be asking the questions like this just to just to see how much you are following, how much you are going through the video and all. So what is the purpose of component.js? What it does? Anyone?
Global declaration.
Huh?
Global declarations.
Okay, so it acts like a global controller. Yes, that is the correct answer. It acts like a global controller. So I told one more thing. Anybody? So one more extra point I told you. Okay, no problem. So the component.js wraps the entire application like a component. So for this I have given an example also, right? So for example, there is a phone. You want to make this phone as a gift item. Then what you will do? You will keep a nice wrapper and then you keep that into a box and then you apply a gift cover and then you will keep a badge and you write your name on top of it. Now this has become a gift item, correct? So similarly, the component.js will wraps the entire application like a component. Okay. Now, so basically the component.js is a JavaScript file. You can see component.js. JS means JavaScript file. So let's say there is a file called abcd.js. There is a file called abcd.js. Now what is this? This is also a JavaScript file, correct? This is also a JavaScript file. Now, what is the difference between the component.js and some abcd.js? This is also a JavaScript file. This is also a JavaScript file. But only component.js acts like a component of the application, but not some JavaScript file, some other JavaScript file. For that matter, even View1 controller is also a JavaScript file. But why View1 controller cannot act like a component of the application, but why component.js is acting like the component of the application? Is it because it is having the name component? So that is the reason it is acting like a component of the application. It is acting like a global controller. It is wrapping the entire application like a component. All these things it is doing. Is it because it is having the name component and it does not have the name component, so it is not acting like a component? No. So this is a very, very important thing to understand. So this is because of the parent library. So here at line number 6 and even here also at line number 2, we are loading the skeleton. So this is already a skeleton code which is written by SAP. So it is enough, we need to understand the code. Okay. So as a part of the skeleton code, SAP already loaded this parent library, SAP UI core UI component here, and you can see SAP UI core MVC controller here. So this SAP UI core UI component, this is the parent library of the component. So that means this is SAP UI code UI component which is written by SAP, and from this SAP UI core UI component, your component.js gets extended. Component.js got extended. So basically the component.js is a child. It's a child of SAP UI core component. It's a child of SAP UI core component. So similarly, there is a SAP UI core MVC controller, SAP UI core MVC controller, and which is the parent class for your controller, and from this particular parent class, parent library, your view1 controller or any other controller gets derived. So basically all your controllers are the child of this parent library SAP UI core MVC controller, and your component.js is a child of SAP UI core UI component. Now you might be wondering where this particular thing is written, like component.js is a child of this particular parent, where it is written. So let me show you. So here the syntax follows is sap.ui.define section will contain the original libraries, and after that there is a function which contains the shortcut name of these libraries in the same order. Generally the last word of the library will be given as a shortcut name here. This is the full name of the library. Now the last word is UI component, so this library is denoted by this word UI component. Now SAP UI device, so this library is denoted with the last word device, and this is loaded with the last word model. Now inside this particular function, line number 10, if you want to point out to this library, you need to point out using UI component. If you want to point out to this library, you need to point out by using the shortcut name device. Okay, so that is the purpose of this particular function. The function denotes these three libraries with their shortcut names. Okay, now just observe the line number 13. The line number 13 is showing that relationship, that this particular file component.js is a children of this parent class. So since it is a children of this parent class, SAP UI core UI component, that is the reason it is acting like a component of the application. So that is why it can wrap your application like a component. That is why it can act like a global controller. Okay, so all these things it can perform just because it is a child of SAP UI core UI component. Okay, if it is not a child of this particular SAP UI core component, then it is a after all JavaScript file. It is just a after all JavaScript file. Okay, so this file has given all its power to this component.js. So this process is called inheritance. Okay, so inheritance is already taken care by your SAP UI5 framework, so you no need to worry about it. So in general, so those people who don't know what is inheritance, just to give a layman example. So if you take a baby elephant inherits all the features, power of the mother elephant, right? The baby elephant will not act like a baby tiger, correct? So it gets only the features of the elephant. It will not get the features of any other animal. So when it grow up, it will also get the same power and same body structure of its mother, correct? Of its parent. So that's basically what is inheritance. So it acquires the power from the parent, that is called inheritance. Okay, so that is what even this particular line number 13 is saying. So now let us understand the line number 13, which is very, very important. The line number 13 says UI component, which is a parent library. Okay, the parent library is saying, hey boss, I'm extending my power to you. So who is this? UI component dot extend means UI component is giving its power, it is extending its power to whom? To this particular file, which is com.demo b72 UI5 app. So what is the meaning of this one? Can anybody tell me? So com.demo b72 UI5 app means what? Which folder is called as com.demo b72 UI5 app?
Web app.
Web app folder. Okay, so it's web app folder. Dot means inside the web app folder. So inside this particular web app folder, it is pointing to component.js. Okay, so since it is pointing to web app folder and component.js, it is saying I'm extending my power to this particular file. So in place of this particular file, if I give view1 controller, okay, then that becomes component.js, just to understand the concept. Okay, however, we don't do that, but basically just to understand how it became the component of the application. So this is the reason the line number 13 made your component.js as a component of the application. Otherwise, it's just a after all JavaScript file. It's a after all JavaScript file, that's all. Understood? So same is the concept here. So SAP UI Core MVC controller is a controller parent class, and from here all the controllers get derived. Okay, so the shortcut name for this one is controller, and you can see written. So this particular controller means the super class, super library, parent library. The parent library is saying I'm extending my power to this particular file. Which file? View1 controller. So this is web app folder, so which is this one. Inside the web app folder there is a controller folder, and inside the controller there is a view1 folder, sorry, view1.controller.js. Got it? So that is the structure of any JavaScript file, guys. So it starts with a sap.ui.define section. So parent libraries gets loaded here, and then required libraries gets loaded here, and the line number 13 you can see, so which clearly stating that the UI component, which is the parent library, is giving the power to this particular after all component.js file. So because of which this has become the component for your application. Right, now let us see the other syntax. The line number 11, use strict, so this particular statement will be present in every JavaScript file. So what it does, so when that particular file is running, so it instructs the browser to run this file in a so-called strict mode. So what is strict mode? When a JavaScript file is run in a strict mode, all the syntax errors or any other things will be captured. Even a minute thing will also be captured by the browser, and it showcases those errors in a console area. So what is that console area? You will understand in the next coming classes. Right. Now inside the component.js there are two things. One is the init function. So this particular init function will initialize your component.js. So that is basically the skeleton code. You no need to worry what is there inside. Okay, so just completely ignore this one at this moment. So what it does, it just initialize your component.js. After this init function get executed, then your component.js becomes the full, it gets the complete power after the initialization only. Okay, right. So that is basically the init function, initialization of your component.js. After successful initialization of the component.js, so it becomes a complete component of your application. Right. So without this init function, the component.js again will not become a component, guys. Okay. So initialization should be completed. The line number 14, 15 and 16, so this is where the next flow of execution happens. So it is saying to call another file called manifest.json, which is a configuration file. This is manifest.json. Now let me show you the flow. Component.js is over and then the manifest.json get executed. Right, now let's open the manifest.json. Right, so from top to bottom, this is manifest.json. The manifest.json is a configuration file. Manifest.json is a configuration file. So this entire configuration is divided into three parts. One is SAP.app section, second one is SAP.UI section, and third one is SAP.UI5 section. So, however, the first two sections, especially first section, this contains the general description about your application, and SAP.UI section contains some description about the user interface. So these two sections, as a developer, you no need to worry because they are already maintained by your SAP UI5 framework. You really don't write any coding inside these two sections. The only section where you need to change the coding, or you need to write the coding, or you need to keep the configuration is SAP.UI5 section. So you really no need to bother about these two sections. You need to bother only about the SAP.UI5 section. Okay, right. So first I will show you all the three sections. SAP.app section, SAP.UI section, and SAP.UI5 section. So these are the three sections present in manifest.json. Okay. In interviews, people may ask you, so what is the manifest.json, and its configuration is divided into how many parts? Even if you ask some real-time employees also, they may not be able to answer this because even they also don't know exactly. Okay, so the configuration is divided into three parts: SAP.app, SAP.UI, and SAP.UI5 section. So three sections are there. Out of these, which is the important section? SAP.UI5 section is important. The developer need to touch only this particular portion. He no need to touch the rest of the configuration. Them. However, I will just go through each and everything and explain. So these two are not that much important, guys. Just I will touch up on both of them. First one, SAP.app section. The SAP.app section contains some default properties of the application like ID. So unique ID, every application that you develop will contain a unique ID. Okay, just like I have an employee ID, you have an employee ID. So similarly, this contains a unique ID. com.demo.b72 UI5 app. So which is basically when you are creating a project, com.demo is a namespace and b72 UI5 app is a project name. So it combines this one, and totally this will be given as a ID for the application. ID means a unique identification of the application. For example, this application I have developed for Apple, then you will have com.apple. and the application name, right? So anyone can easily understand like for which client this has been developed and what is the application by using this ID. So type means it's application, and i18n means this particular path of this file. Okay, so i18n folder dot slash i18n.properties file. Okay, just path of this file. And application version, so since you created this now, so this is 0.0.1, so automatically this number will change. You no need to worry about this. So title, so this particular title is nothing but this one, window title. Description, so you can give some description but it won't appear anywhere, and this you can ignore. And source template means how you developed this, how you created this project, which template did you used. So we used the FIORI template with the selection as basic, correct? So that is what is the template information. So that's all guys. So nothing much about SAP.app section. And even SAP.UI section is also a dummy section. So just a UI description here. Technology used UI5, and device type supported desktop, tablet and phone. So all of them are supported. This icons is any icons used in this application, you can just keep it here. Okay, but normally we don't keep anything here. It's just a descriptive section. Again, even you keep it here, even you don't keep it here, does not matter at all. Okay, so that's the UI section. Now let's go to the main important section, that is SAP.UI5 section. Now this UI5 section contains many configurations. However, in today's class we are going to focus on the actual section that is participate in the flow of execution. So inside the manifest.json, whatever the configuration it has, this particular root view configuration is the one that participate in the flow of execution. So let's find out where is this root view configuration. Yeah, so you can see at line number 98 the root view configuration is there. Okay, so it goes to the root view configuration and it just executes whatever this particular root view configuration says. Now inside the root view configuration, first of all, what is the meaning of root view configuration? Root view configuration means what is the very first file. What is the very first file that has to be loaded? First file means web page. What is the very first view to be loaded is called root view configuration. So let me write down here. Root view configuration means what is the first view to be loaded is called root view configuration. What is the very first view to be loaded is called root view configuration. And it is saying, boss, go and load this particular view as a first view. So what is this view? Let us go through the entire line. com.demo.b72 UI5 app. So this indicates your web app folder. So what is this web app folder? Where is it? This is the one. Okay. Now inside the web app folder, it is saying there is a view folder. This is the view. And inside the view folder, there is a app. App means app.view.xml. So go and load this app.view.xml. Go and load this app.view.xml. So the very first view it loads is app.view.xml, my dear friends. So that is what I have written in the flow. So root view configuration gets loaded, and basically inside the root view configuration, the app.view.xml is loaded. Okay. So now let us understand something about this app.view.xml, why this needs to be loaded. Okay. Our actual view is view1.view.xml actually, right? So this is our actual view, but in addition to this, this app.view.xml is already loaded, is already created by SAP, right? And SAP is calling this app.view.xml as a root view. SAP is calling this particular app.view.xml as a root view. So why it is calling it as a root view or base view? Why this is needed? Let us understand in 1 minute. For example, you are constructing a building. Okay, will you construct the first floor and second floor directly, or will you construct the basement first? We will construct the basement first. So without the basement, is there any building till now available which is constructed? No. So similarly, here SAP came up with this particular approach, and that is he loaded a base view first. Okay, he constructed a base view. This exactly acts like a basement of a building. I said this act like a basement of the building because after the entire building is based on the basement only, but the basement will not appear after the construction of the building. After the construction of the building, can anybody see the basement? No, that is already covered. Okay, basement is not parking, guys. Okay, underground parking is not basement. Okay, even beneath, even below that particular parking also there is a basement, strong basement. Okay, I'm talking about that. So why I am comparing this with a basement of a building? The reason is the entire building is based on the basement, and moreover the basement will not appear after the construction of the building. Now even you can see when I run this application, you can see this view 1. This is view 1, by the way. So let me open this view 1. I'm changing the title. So here page means web page. Title is view 1 I am giving. So now you can see this particular title will change. See, you can see only the view 1. You can't see app.view.xml because even though that is present, it is there. It is there, but it will not appear. Just like basement. Basement is there, but it will not appear. On top of the basement only, your first floor, second floor, all of them get constructed. So similarly here, app.view.xml is there. It already loaded. But on top of it, the view 1 got loaded. Okay. So how the view 1 got loaded, if you want to understand, you need to wait till the complete flow of execution. Okay. Right. So this particular app.view.xml got loaded, which is the base view. So remember, this acts like a basement for a building. Clear? Now let me take a diagram. So the first view, the root view that gets loaded is the app.view.xml. So this is app.view.xml. We call that as a base view. Base view. Technical name app.view.xml. Alright. Now inside this particular base view, let's open app.view.xml. So inside this, there is something called view container gets loaded. So what is this view container? So again, why this view container is needed? All these things will continue in the tomorrow's class. So tomorrow's class is a continuation to this particular topic. Okay, right. So we'll stop today's class here itself. We'll see from app.view.xml. We'll open app.view.xml and we'll see, so where is this view container and what is its purpose, and then we'll see the rest of the flow if possible in tomorrow's class itself. Okay, so if you have any questions you can ask me, guys, otherwise you can drop for today. Yeah, okay. Fine, guys. Have a nice day. We'll meet in tomorrow's class with the continuation topic. Bye-bye.